Thunderball is now 60 years old, and it looks and sounds as perfect today as it did during the peak of Bond mania. We gathered to celebrate what was at the time the biggest film of them all at the box office, and discussed why we love the film so much. And it was great to have so many of you contribute with your thoughts.
Hello, David Zritsky for the Bond Experience, here to talk about Thunderball, which is in my top 5 movies. And I'm going to talk a little bit why in a short amount of time. So here we go. First of all, we've got to start talking about the location. As a matter of habit and maybe part of holiday, I watch Thunderball every single year around Christmas time, which I know it's not on Her Majesty's Secret Service. It's not about the snow for me. It's about getting away to a warm weather holiday. Nothing says James Bond film warm weather holiday like Thunderball. Maybe it's the style, the fashion, the people. No, it's the Bahamas. It's the location. It's perfect for that whole sense of escapism, which is why Thunderball does such a great job as that traditional James Bond film of helping you escape from the everyday humdrum life, even if that's getting away from the slush, the ice, and the snow. Then we've got to talk about the characters. I mean, you've got Fiona Volpe, who arguably is one of the best Bond villains. Yes, I'm not just saying Bond bad girls. Bond villains in any of the movies. She's fantastic. She plays it like Bond, like a female version of Bond. You've got Largo, that playboy villain that we all have come to love and know, and he's trying to climb the corporate ladder of Spectre. Perfect. You've got Domino, that winged dove. Yes, you know, we love to cuddle them and love them and fly off into the sunset with them. And then we have to talk about James Bond himself. He's amazing in this film. Sean Connery is at an all-time high, if you excuse the pun, in Thunderball, because he is the James Bond, the quintessential James Bond of snarkiness. He's badass. He has the quips, the tropes that we love, and he's indubitably the pattern, that emulation pattern that when we think of the charming, sophisticated spy and assassin, that is the Thunderball James Bond as played by Sean Connery. Now the story, this is where a lot of movies fall apart. You could have all the great characters and the portrayals of the Bond actors, but the storyline itself is fantastic. It's close to a world domination. I mean, it's nuclear warheads. It's the finding of a MacGuffin. It's the utilizing of people and friends and allies like Felix Leiter in a way to connect all the parts and pieces together. And it's sewn up wonderfully in the end. I mean, yes, this is where things tend to fall apart in Bond films, is the ending. And this has an incredibly satisfying ending. And a Bond on a dinghy? I mean, who doesn't like James Bond ending his film on a dinghy? The name Thunderball conjures up the song. I mean, he always walks while others run. He acts while all right, so I forgot the words. But the words are a great descriptor of James Bond, and it's incredibly hummable, singable. It's a ballad that is triumphant. Some of the ballads of James Bond are, well, they're a little sad. You know, they're about the negativity that happens in James Bond's world. This is all about James Bond being a capable hero. I'm going to pause on that. Capable hero. He can do so many different things, which is why we sort of emulate him in many ways. In this film, the Thunderball theme, the song itself, really pays that off in a big way. And Tom Jones, can anybody hold a candle to Tom Jones? I think not. So Thunderball, the theme, chef kiss. The last thing I'll end on, because I'm wearing right now the shirt, Sean Connery's shirt that he wears in the movie, or one just like it, is the style. Nothing gets by the style. I would think maybe Quantum of Solace is the only better style movie, but for us, that pattern, our very vacation off of what James Bond tends to wear, with the luxury items, the branding, the comfort of the style of James Bond, Thunderball is a great pattern. It's iconic in the linen shirts, the bangle shirts that he wears, the shorts, the Jansen shorts, the sunglasses. If you take a look at Thunderball before you pack on your vacation, you will have the perfect how-to live like Bond, one moment at a time. Thunderball, if you haven't seen it in a while, check it out. Does it have a couple slow points around the underwater scenes? I find that moments to relax, but go check it out. I love it.
One day, it was on Thunderball, and he came to view the cut.
Who did? John Barrett?
John Barrett.
Yeah, okay.
And I didn't really think much about it. But when we finished, he came over. He said, "Norman, I'm so glad I came today." And I know what it was, because when we were viewing the film, there was so much underwater that was just silence.
Yes.
It was just spacing, you know.
Yeah.
And I thought, this isn't fair on people when they watch the film. And I'd already started to experiment with underwater sounds. I was slowing sounds up to get the bass and that. So I found one. I thought, that's it. That's the one for me. So I wound it into all the cutting copy. So now at least you could hear something when you saw the stuff. John Barry came over. He said, "Norman, I'm so glad. Now I know what you're doing. That's changed my mind." He said, "I was going to put 6 trombones over that."
Whoa.
And I said, "John, isn't it a shame that we can't always work like this? Because it would be so much more professional for you to know what I'm doing and I know what you're doing, or we could discuss who's going to take over which bit, but we can't. There's no time." So that was one occasion when we really gained from him hearing something I was doing.
Those underwater scenes are so well, the sound on those are amazing, because, again, it hasn't been done before, anything like that, has it?
Not to that extent, no. That's the only film that I feel that it could have been sort of thought out a bit differently, really. To have so much underwater with all those bubbles and all those... No, you didn't know where to stop and start. So, in fact, I had one guy I brought on whose job was bubbles.
Right.
But where do you stop and start? When you've got about 8 guys all going under, there's bubbles there, here, there.
True.
Oh, no. I thought it was a bit OTT, must have.
Yeah. That's what a lot of people say. It was pioneering, though, and John's music is, we say it's the sound of underwater. It's just... it does really help, doesn't it? I think.
Yeah, I guess so. Yes, it was just the bubbles.
Bubbles, yeah.
How many to have and when not to have them.
Yeah. Must have been lots of underwater footage that had to be cut down.
Oh, yeah.
Because the editing in that is very difficult.
Yes,
I imagine.
you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But it worked,
Oh, it did. I'm assuming we all love this song.
Oh, yeah.
Which one?
Oh, yes.
Well, yes.
Here we go.
We'll start with Thunderball, the title track, the Tom Jones one. Because this is, I know, John, you said before, you think it's taking the template of Goldfinger and then going up a level, probably.
Yeah, I prefer it to Goldfinger. Not that I dislike Goldfinger. I just think it's a brilliant song. I think it's bombastic. Tom Jones nails it out of the park. Smashed it out of the park. I really, really, really love the title sequence. I think the title sequence, it's Binder's back, isn't he? And I think that and the song intertwine perfectly. I think it's one of the best ones, and I actually think that is why I may prefer the song to Goldfinger, because I think that and the titles work better than the Goldfinger song and titles do together. I love it. I absolutely love it. And yet, however much I love it, I prefer Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Well,
yes.
But there we go. But that's because we're talking 10 out of 10 songs,
Yeah. I prefer Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Yeah. Especially when Kerry sings it from the Cue the Music.
Yeah.
Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, not a fool.
Well, yeah, Matt does the Tom Jones one, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Very well.
But for me, the song's I think it's like it's very smooth and then very high. Especially when he's going Thunderball and like that. And all I can just imagine is watching cue the music.
Yeah.
And he's just keeping that tone going.
I think his note goes on longer than Tom Jones did, I think.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So he strikes like thunder.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But it is, I think the history is that the Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was meant to be the main song.
Yeah.
And they'd recorded a version, hadn't they? But then Cubby and Harry Saltzman were like, no, we need to sell this. We need to actually have the name of the film in the song.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, not luckily, but of course John Barry had written so many melodies that, here's a few spare ones we haven't used in that song. And we can create an unbelievable song at the last minute. It's incredible, isn't it?
Well, all I can say is he's Yorkshire's finest.
Yeah, he absolutely. Absolutely. England's finest as well.
Is it the first theme? Well, it must be, because obviously From Russia With Love, Barry didn't write that. The use of the Bond theme in Thunderball, it's
unbelievable.
It's a brilliant song. It really is. And, again, interesting to go to a male singer having had an absolute, epic anthem that still, resonates today in Goldfinger. It's underrated that Tom Jones has done a Bond song. Like when you see him on The Voice or whatever, want you on my team or whatever, I don't immediately think, James Bond. Whereas when Shirley Bassey, I know obviously she did 3, but when, I don't know, Nancy Sinatra, obviously, I don't know, you know what I mean? These people are all synonymous with Bond, but Tom Jones, not so much. Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is absolutely brilliant, and its use in the film, and we were talking about the 3 songs in Living Daylights, of course, in our review recently, but these 2 songs and it's a stunning score. It really is a stunning score.
Brilliant.
It's again next level up, I think, from Goldfinger, and I actually think it's probably one of my favourites. I think it's one of the best scores. I think it's absolutely stunning. It enhances the incredible visuals that you're seeing. If this has a slightly lesser, so not wanting to poo-poo it too much, but like Dr. No's soundtrack, Dr. No isn't enhanced, I wouldn't say, by the soundtrack, but here you've got these wonderful melodies and everything that accompany the beautiful scenery that you're seeing, and then the underwater themes, and it's genius. It really is genius. And again, no Oscar nominations for John Barry. This should be winning every Oscar available. I don't know what won Best Original Score in 1965 or 67.
Probably
but
well, I remember Norman Wanstall, when he won the Oscar the year before, I think best film that year was Mary Poppins. So I probably won the music that year, to be fair. But I don't know what won this year. You're absolutely right. I mean, this is just the soundtrack. I think the version we've got is pretty long, isn't it? You get a lot for your money. And interestingly, again, not many people have said this. The final bit, which is the incredible, I don't understand the physics of it, but the way the dinghy's lifted up.
Oh yeah.
On the final edit, it's just the normal ding 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 ding. But on the soundtrack, it's got a way better version of the Bond theme, a really epic version, which has never been played, never been heard. I honestly, check it out. It's so good. It's got the full orchestra and timpani and all this. Yeah. So I misremember it every time I watch the film now. I'm like, hang on, why has it not got that? Why has it gone the main Bond theme on? But yeah, it's sweeping. We've got the 007 theme, of course, as well.
Yeah, into that other theme though. It works so well.
Yeah.
But it's not
just the cues. it's the little cues, it's the little kind of and
Yeah,
you just hear the word dun 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 dun. dun.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the beauty of Barry. Each movie having its own voice, and he brings it to life. It's just so fantastic. I will say I love Thunderball and Tom Jones, but the one song or version of that was played incessantly in my car back in the late 90s was from David Arnold's Shaken Not Stirred with Martin Fry, who just, again, doesn't it say a lot about a song that you can redo it and it still comes out so rich and strong and powerful with a different voice. I mean, it just shows you how good this song is, how good the soundtrack is, the themes are, the whole environment of it for this film. And like we keep saying understated, or it is understated for a lot of folks because there's just so much going on, but when you immerse yourself in it, it really does help bring you to where the movie's taking place. So I love it. Love it.
The music in the casino is the instrumental of Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. It's the classiest piece of music you'll ever hear.
Yeah.
It's even got that tinge of sadness as she sort of turns away in the boat looking back at Bond.
Yeah.
It's wonderful melodies that I keep saying it, we know we're never going to get that good anymore. I know David Arnold's done his best to try and emulate it.
Yeah.
But this is just... I don't know what Monty Norman was thinking. Like, fair enough, mate.
You are the pan. Very much. It's Rufio just giving Peter Pan the sword. Sorry, hook on the brain. The Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. You've got the romantic version there.
Yeah.
You've got the absolute but then you've had the 007 theme tune, the chase, and then you get to the club and it mellows down with the do 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 do, which should just be a football chant. And even though it's mellowed down, the tension's going up.
Yeah,
irony kind of thing, because then you've got the bongos coming in as well, and
with the Thunderball.
It's incredible. And then we said this in a review. He creates the sound of water.
Yeah.
Oh, and just
That's not to know.
It's a perfect soundtrack. It's my fourth favorite soundtrack after Majesty's, View to a Kill, and Daylights, which I don't think will ever change. We're talking 3 of my 5 favorite soundtracks of all time, but after that it's Thunderball, because
those are fantastic soundtracks in themselves, John. I mean that's very good company to be in.
It is.
I think those 4 I'd have to agree are the best.
I know, but then I was just thinking of the 3 that come after this.
The great.
Like, you only live twice, and
the perfect for the
Majesties, and I know you mentioned Majesties, and then Diamonds.
Yeah, wonder. It's the guy's a joke. It really
Then the rest of them are brilliant as well that he's done so.
Yeah, because Live and Let Die's after that, which is classic.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Live and Let Die, totally iconic.
Yeah.
No, this is I do think, as John's exhibited there, that just that Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang theme used in about 4 different ways, and that didn't even make it to be the title theme. This is how good the man is. So I've never really heard him talk about Thunderball, the music. So I hope there's some interview somewhere that someone can unearth, because it's not as famous in terms of, it's not Goldfinger, is it? Or even some of the later ones, like Moonraker's now probably one of the more famous scores. Quite rightly. In fact, dear me, we forgot that one as well, didn't we? Absolutely incredible score. Yeah.
But you're right though. It's not, from what I said at the beginning, it's Thunderball, 60 years old.
Yeah.
Everything that goes with it. Why are we not singing and dancing about it? It's 60 years old, man. It's to be celebrated.
I think on that, I was thinking, I'm assuming next year there will be a big celebration 20 years of Casino Royale, and
Yeah,
rightly
it's the only
so.
one, isn't it, next year?
But yeah,
The only
it's
one.
the only it's the only one which will help it. Whereas when you've got three,
4.
well, four, yeah, 10 years of
Mm.
Spectre, but yeah, it's hard to be able to pick each one out and fully celebrate it.
I think what's right at the top is A View to a Kill, isn't it? I think everybody's talking about it. Everybody wants to go to a cinema showing and see it, and it's 40 years old. I mean, I've spoke about it enough, haven't I? But yeah, I think everybody's talking about that, and then it's GoldenEye, and then no one's talking after that. It's like no one's saying like Thunderball, then Spectre, or the other way around. You know what I mean? So.
Whilst I agree that Thunderball should be absolutely celebrated, and it's great that likes of you guys did put it on the big screen. It's an amazing thing. I remember in 2022 there was it wasn't an anniversary celebration, but there was a massive Thunderball celebration where they went to the Bahamas.
Yes.
Yeah.
They took Luciana Paluzzi, they took Martin Bezek. They took the bongo player.
Yeah. And they played there, didn't
he? And he played there, and they took Diane Hartford, who is the one, you're mad, you!
Yeah.
Who's also in Casino Royale.
Yeah.
And they reenacted the scene, and Zaritsky did interviews and stuff. So, and I think was it On the Tracks who did that? So,
yes. Yeah.
In some ways, right, nothing's going to top that, is it? Whereas nobody had come up with the idea of going to Chantilly. So Chantilly, or however you want to pronounce it, from Bolton, But so it seems like it's the perfect time to do A View to a Kill one because very little.
Oh yeah, we're not complaining about that. This is that getting all that love, isn't it?
So much of this film, a bit like some of the others. Bond goes to a few locations at the start, and then he's, for the majority of the time, in one location. He's in the Bahamas, and I think the Bahamas has never looked so good. But, Bond, the Bahamas or the Caribbean are so synonymous with Bond in a number of films that perhaps going there, you wouldn't necessarily know, well, are you celebrating this? And I'm not saying anything against that event or anything, whereas going to North, wherever in France, Chantilly, or it can only be A View to a Kill, or but I do love the link between Bond and the Caribbean and everything, and I think they've always done a pretty good job, whichever era it's been in, of showing that. But I don't think it's been bettered. I don't think Thunderball has been bettered in that regard.
I know it's not Jamaica; it's still sort of the Caribbean, but our good friend Brian Cover, who family originally from there, can you remember? I don't know if I remember told you, but he said to Jamaicans they're most proud of number 1, Bob Marley. Fair enough. Yeah. Number two, James Bond, because of Ian Fleming. And then he said, way down. I forgot his name. I've completely. What?
Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt, yeah, way down, yeah.
At the bottom.
Bond and Bolt.
It's not like him to come last in a race there.
No, absolutely right.
But then when obviously Casino Royale in 2006, we got, you just fall in love with it again, don't you? You're taking us back to all them locations. It's
it looks brilliant in that film as well.
It's still exotic, you see. I think that's the mad of it. It's 60 years on we're talking about this film. I mean, that's a heck of a long time. And yet we still look at the Bahamas as this exotic, far away location. Wouldn't we all love to go there? I'm looking at the window right now. Yeah, we'd all love to go there right now. And to do that sort of adventure. So I think there's a timelessness about it, probably, I think it's fair to say. And I think talking about it and having these conversations and doing the screenings all helps in terms of raising Thunderball's profile even more for a whole new generation, which I'd love for them to go in and find it. And it's great because it'll be on the TV again. It'll be, I don't know, ITV4 will have it on, I don't know, 7 more times this year. Hopefully it'll be on Irish TV here and RTE or something as well over the long weekend. Actually, the long weekend here, I'm going to have to check out and see if there's if it's going to be on, because you just don't know, and that's the beauty of it. It'll keep turning up at least, which is nice.
No, long way to continue, and you have the impact of that, seeing this and then seeing Japan in You Only Live Twice. No one's been to these places from England, have they, at all? Especially Japan. So I think we even now to see that impact and how exotic and beautiful it looks, it must have been a million times more in the 60s. And we've touched on Sean, but the guy just looks so cool in this film, doesn't he? You can't. I think we discussed in our review, like this is going to be possibly the best looking man in any Bond film.
Yes.
You can argue that, can't you? He's so suave. He's so smooth. He never looks like he's. I don't know. He looks like he's enjoying it, even though this is quite a tense situation for him. And he is, as we've discussed. He's in a few scrapes with death, isn't he? On the rack at the beginning. I mean, that's pretty the most vulnerable he's ever been. But yet, look at him in the casino with the shorts, with the stuff with Q. We haven't mentioned that. I mean, so that's when you're really building that relationship as well. That's the thing that's built on the. Goldfinger deserves all the credit for starting that sort of banter. But it's so good, Matt, seeing Q in the field. I mean, that's a new little thing.
Again, first time we see that, and it happens again in the next one. But it really does build on that, Q being cranky with Bond, and Bond unnecessarily messing with stuff.
Now here's something I want you to use with special care. With special care.
Everything you give me.
Treated with equal contempt. Yes, I know, but that's an underwater camera. It takes 8 pictures in rapid succession by pressing that button there.
Is that clever?
But if you can take pictures in the dark with an infrared film, yes. Try to be a little less than your usual frivolous self, 007.
It's so good. It is brilliant. Connery in every outfit, including the scuba outfit he wears, which if I wore that, I would look absolutely ridiculous.
Felix says that, doesn't it? Like,
he does.
That looks good.
Yeah.
And the kitchen sink.
I knew everything looks good.
But in everything, he just looks incredible. He just holds himself so well. It must be the best a man has ever looked. Never mind Bond. Never mind film. The history of man.
It is. We'll do that. Episode one day. Best looking Bond. I know some will have. Chris will be batting for Tim in Living Daylights, maybe, but we'll discuss that later. Anyway.
Welcome to Palmyra.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I just hope I'm not interrupting anything.
What do you mean?
I thought perhaps you're another visitor.
No.
That gun looks more fitting for a woman.
You know much about guns, Mr. Bond?
No, I know a little about women.
Sean was one of the most down-to-earth people I've ever met. He actually he didn't like the fuss of being, he hated it. And at night, I don't know, the mayor of the Bahamas would invite people for dinner, Terrence and the stars and blah, blah, blah. He'd rather go out with the crew, with the boys.
Okay.
And that's the way he was. He was a macho, fun person to be around. And, you hear all these stories after about, not being nice to women. I have no clue. I have no idea. No. He was always so nice to me. And I never saw a bad side of him. We stayed friends. We saw him in New York in his brownstone house that he had in New York. We went and had with him and Micheline, my husband, the 4 of us. I have such wonderful memories of him being always very pleasant and funny.
What a film. Obviously, we have done our review and it was extensive, it was in depth, and I had so much to learn and say in that as well, just by doing that review. And I encourage everyone to give that a really good listen. But for now, if I were to try and sum up my thoughts on Thunderball in a quick video note, I would just say, wow, there are things about this film that are just the highest standard of filmmaking, not just of Bond, but of filmmaking. If we look at it as a Bond film, you have the lead actor, Sean Connery, not just looking, perhaps, I think for me, looking his best, but I think the way he is into the story is great. I think the way that he follows the leads and the way he goes from place to place is the most assured he's ever been. And the way I think, obviously Sean Connery does it a lot, but the way he engages with Largo, Volpe, and Domino, all these main characters, is just brilliant. But especially the villains, I love the way that he engages with Largo, and I love the way that he engages with Volpe. I mean, this is really like one-off stuff that we've not seen as good as since, I don't believe. I mean, in Largo, we have an absolutely incredible villain who he's unafraid to get his hands dirty and roll up his sleeves at the end. He is in the thick of the battle, but also he has just a presence when he's sat at a table and when he's holding court or talking to one of his heavies. He has immense presence and strikes definite fear just when he's in the room. And then Volpe, I mean, there's so much we could say, and we were fortunate enough to have that interview with her as well. But one of the all-time greatest villains, henchwomen, female characters in the series, without a doubt. The threat that she poses, the beauty that she puts on the screen, the menace and the seductive nature of her is just absolutely perfectly played by Luciana Paluzzi, just unbelievable. But like I was saying, the way Bond engages with her, with his conversations, his actions, is just remarkable. I think it's the absolute peak of Bond taking on a female villain, because obviously we've not had that much of it, and what we see from Bond and Electra King in The World Is Not Enough is absolutely brilliant, and I could almost not fault that, really. But for me, this is the absolute best. This is even better than Bond and Electra King for me, because although they're not in love with each other, the way Bond dances around her web, the way he gets caught in a web, is just absolutely magnificent. And it leads to possibly one of my favourite sequences in any film, not just Bond film, but the Junkanoo, when Bond is injured and being pursued through the crowd, the way that that is brought together on camera, the editing, the music and everything, but to one of the best climaxes ever, I would say, for a tense death. Not an action-packed death, but one of the best climaxes for a really tense death. It couldn't be any better, that set piece. And I think I mentioned it in our review, but I would just show that in isolation to anyone in the world and say, just look at this. But of course, in isolation, you don't see that that is part of a much wider, amazing story, and in some of the most wonderful locations. I love where it goes. I love what it looks like. I know that there'll be criticisms of the underwater scenes. That's the film being ambitious. That's the producers, the filmmakers taking things to the next level and trying something that hadn't been done to that extent before and pushing the envelope. And it might well seem slow to some people, but if that's all you've got against Thunderball, then it is doing so well, because everything else, absolutely everything else, is belting. It is a brilliantly threaded together story. There's a really interesting romance at the centre of it with Domino, and the way Domino is treated by Largo is incredibly interesting and unlike anything else. You've got Volpe, as I've mentioned. So many things that I don't know how anyone can become sniffy about the rest of the film. Okay, I think you can have some feeling of the underwater scenes being slow, and we've talked about that. But the absolute rest of the film, what can you criticise? What can anyone dare to criticise about that? It is top tier Bond filmmaking. It is a mission, it is a pursuit, it is a ticking bomb that Bond has to stop effectively. And it's just mesmerising to watch. When it comes to the underwater scenes anyway, I think we almost, completely reached the conclusion that when those of us fortunate to see it at the cinema during the 60th year anniversary, when everyone saw it at the cinema, it was just unbelievable to watch on the big screen. These underwater battles. And I remember John from the podcast saying it was almost like balletic. It was like a ballet dance, the way it was choreographed, the way it looked. It is an absolute feat of filmmaking. And again, you got to be very, very confident and ballsy to look at that and say, it's slow. Come on, guys. Come on. They've tried to be ambitious, okay, but better than that, they've pulled it off. It is an underwater battle with loads of people being choreographed and orchestrated, deaths that look painful. You can tell who your hero is, you can tell who your villain is, you can see what they're trying to do, you don't get disorientated. This is amazing filmmaking, even if it's not quite the speed you want it to be. And I just think Thunderball has just slightly become the wrong side of ratings. It's not often said to be people's favourites. It's not my number one Bond film, but it is absolutely fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. Just because it's not my favourite doesn't mean that it's almost flawless. What these filmmakers have managed to do in quick succession after what's gone before, I mean, we are seeing things come together just incredibly well, from direction to music to editing. Thunderball is an absolute class act of a film from start to finish and everything in between. I think it is worth everyone seeing and watching with a fresh pair of eyes and thinking, tell you what, I can't fault that. Next scene, no, I can't fault that. Those characters, no, I can't fault that. The way they talk to each other, I can't fault the dialogue, I can't fault that. The music, wow, I can't fault this. There is so much that is faultless, and that cannot be taken for granted. When we have had what we've had for the last 2 decades, where it's much more divisive, where there are people who love and people who really don't like the output from what we've had recently, Thunderball is as airtight as you're going to get. Thunderball takes some risks, and yet it is completely cohesive. It completely comes together. You know everything that's going on, all the motivations. It is an absolutely splendid James Bond film that deserves so much credit. And whether you think the underwater scenes are slow or not, give them credit for what they did and what they achieved. Okay, I don't know what else I'm going to say, but I love Thunderball, and reviewing it was an absolute treat. Listen to our review. It might change your opinions for better or for worse, but this film deserves celebrating. It deserves focus. It deserves attention. So please celebrate Thunderball this year. What a year we're having for anniversaries, but Thunderball, Thunderball, Thunderball. Let's not overlook this by any means.
Just for your final thoughts now for this incredible film. We've done a review of it, as you know, I think that was 2 years ago now, perhaps. It was an in-depth review. You can catch that on our podcast. It's quite long, of course, but we really wanted to give it a lot of credit. And I think rediscovering it and watching it over and over again and then seeing it on the big screen, I've seen it twice now at the cinema. I think it's probably my favourite Connery now, I have to say. But I love them all, and I love how different they all are, and I love how they go all over the world, different places, different tones to them. But I think this is the kind of aspirational Bond, which we've talked about it with Living Daylights. This is the kind of thing you can use as a template for the new Bond in terms of getting back to the classic values, I mean, good luck in trying to find a new Bond as charismatic as Connery. That's if you can't do it without
No.
that, so it's going to be tough. And we'll look forward to hearing how that develops. But yeah, we're here to celebrate Thunderball. I know often on these rankings, Bond rankings, it appears lower mid-table. That doesn't mean it's a bad film. I think it's just people prefer others. But yeah, for me, it'll always be definitely my top 10. Might be about 6, 7, something like that, because I do think it is exceptionally strong. And I'll start with you, Kevin. Your final thoughts on the film, and I know it means a lot to you, and can't wait to see it again, can we?
I can't. I mean, it's my number one. I mean, for a long time, Goldfinger used to be kind of, and it's just like it's risen to the top for an awfully long time. I mean, it has everything. That how can you sum up kind of final thoughts about a movie? Because we could spend another 2, 3 hours talking about it, and we will again. We'll have to continue this in different places and guises, and maybe we'll do another screening of Thunderball just for that. And guys, all come over. We'll have you all over, and we'll have another good weekend of it. I think, look, like you say, Connery looks amazing. He is on form. He is confident. He's enjoying it. The character itself is never look so good as in it. We've got a range of villains that are not just kind of black and white. They're nuances. There's backstory, and there's a story as well in here that you kind of almost have to fill in the gaps a little bit in terms of what is happening, or maybe this or maybe that. You're left to kind of use your imagination with it. But I mean, this is a movie that takes you away. It takes you away into a wonderful place of adventure, of color, of danger, of excitement. It's a wonderful, take the cliche, it is a wonderful distraction for an hour or two on this particular. Sorry, after but it's a wonderful distraction for an hour or two. It's a great film to watch with anybody. I think we had a good few, and it's amazing when we had the screening in Dublin. I mean, we still had elements where people were laughing and reacting to it, and people are watching it and they're seeing things that they've never observed before, or little things that have just been, oh my God, I never saw it. And I think you're still learning that we still find these things 60 years on says a lot about the level of detail that went into this film. So, I mean, it's up there for me. It's number one. I love all the films, obviously, but this is just a special one as far as I'm concerned. And I just say anyone watch it. Don't worry about the underwater scenes. Just be amazed at the fact that they attempted this 60 years ago. They went and did it. They put their money where their mouth was, and I think it turned up a great success. And I will add, just because Paul alluded to the start, the whole story of getting this to screen is a movie in itself.
Yeah.
Between writing of the book and Fleming and McClory and Whittingham, how Fleming was looking to get this on the screen, and McClory was going to do it, and then following to Eon and the whole story after that. That's a movie in itself. But I think all of those things got Thunderball to where it was, to be that hit at that right moment. And they caught fire and diamonds and gold and everything in one go in that film.
Oh, Kev, this is so good to hear.
I go back to the point that it's the most beautiful Bond film, I'd say, the most beautiful looking Bond film. There's that contrast where you've got the whole of MI6 sat in a rainy London while Bond's beachcombing. And I think that it's that aspirational aspect, isn't it? That especially imagine if you were in the 60s and you were watching this from Bolton, and you sat there and you just see this, and you see this world, and it's not just the beach, you've got the casino stuff, you've got the yachts, you've got an amazing lifestyle, and then you've got the star of the show, Sean Connery. And the thing with the first 4 Connery films is that however amazing everything else is around it, and there is, I mean, I've gone on about Fiona Volpe, Connery's always the star of the show. He is the most magnetic man to have been on screen. Do you know what I mean? His presence is just everywhere. Fiona Volpe, the best female villain in the series. Largo, perfect villain for this story. Spectre at its best. Paula, one of the first sacrificial lambs, or sacrificing herself. You know, that's the thing with it. So many quirky little characters that we haven't even mentioned. People like Vargas, you know.
Oh, yes. Oh, God, yeah.
Really quirky characters.
Mr. Yanni, Mr. Vargas. Mr. Vargas, Mr. Yanni.
Which is which?
I thought you might have met Mr. Vargas the other night.
Oh, yes, I believe I did.
Drink, sir. Ram Collins, Mr. Bond.
Yes. Just about that hour, isn't it?
For you? Of course. Vargas does not drink, does not smoke, does not make love. What do you do, Vargas?
Just the little things of specs like Jack Beauvoir, you know, that other quirky one, Quist, you know, little
No!
You're going to shoot me in the back.
The gun, I mean.
Rick Van Nutter, probably the most underrated Felix Leiter.
He's class, isn't he?
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he was really good.
And then, I would have been someone who would previously not say that the scenes were boring, but there was probably too many underwater scenes. That's what my way I'd have previously said it. And then I watch it on the big screen and I understand why there's so many of them, because what you have got there is art. You know, that might be a bit of hyperbole here, but 2001 Space Odyssey, they want to show you these majestic views of space. This is what Terence Young is wanting to do here. He is wanting to show you the majesty of water and what we can do. The problem is that we have this revisionist attitude where we can say, oh, something's boring, blah, 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 blah. Take it for what it is. And it's art. And it's art in a phenomenal way. The score is art. It's a brilliant, brilliant Bond film. You know me. There's 22 Bond films that are in my top 50 films of all time. And that is absolutely one of those. So I'm not going to go on about what ranking I put it. I'm going to say it's in one of my 50 favorite films of all time, because I think that sounds far better.
It is a lot of the criticism is revisionist nitpicking, like you say, isn't it? Yeah. Just smack this on and you'll be like, this is just gorgeous from start to finish. Ignore anything that doesn't quite make sense or drags a little. I mean, I think it's got a lovely pace to it, actually. I think it's got a really nice pace to it.
Definitely in my top 5.
Right,
definitely. It's a beautiful film, in my personal opinion, very underrated. It needs to be celebrated more. I think it was Sean Connery at his best. You could see the seriousness and the passion for what he did as an actor. And all the characters, and just especially the locations. So I think in all the Bond films, it's more locations for me than as well as the adventure. I think the adventure's even more of a thrill kind of thing. You know, just an amazing film, a must watch.
All the elements are there. And I think so much of this film, I do think, is a bit underappreciated, and I think people underestimate its legacy quite a lot. Which again, it would be great to see it being more celebrated. I think, for example, I can't remember, but I reckon there would have been a BBC News possible article like Goldfinger 60 years on. There won't be Thunderball 60 years on, but some of the underwater scenes, I want to mention them because I know we've sort of touched upon them, but I just don't understand how they've done it. Still to this day, you don't see many films with such a large percentage filmed underwater. If they do, it'll either be a green screen or in a big tank somewhere or whatever. I was watching License to Kill recently, and I was like, actually, there's quite a bit underwater in that, and quite a bit reminiscent of Thunderball. Oh, I love it at the end where from the sea or from the ground level, they're looking up, and the CIA plane arrives, and they start parachuting down. It's so epic with the music. So you see that, and then you see down from the plane, you see Largo and his men in formation. I mean, how do you coordinate these things?
Never mentioned.
action, and then underwater, like how have you choreographed this 1 year after the Goldfinger, one of the biggest films ever, and and again, how do you underwater, like how do you do it? How's it been done? 1965 or filmed in 1964 or whenever. Just absolutely astonishing. I think it's a wonderful film, a wonderful Bond film, one of my favourite Connerys, and I think it always will be.
You're absolutely right. 60 years old, a year after Goldfinger. Well, it's released a year after Goldfinger. I mean, that's part of the problem with these anniversaries is that we've had Dr. No from Russia with Love, Goldfinger, and Thunderball in 4 years. Well, within 3 year period. I mean, I know it's times have changed now, but it is embarrassing, isn't it? How good you can never recreate this spell of British cinema and cinema in general. And you're absolutely right. I think the underwater scenes, they technically, I mean, it did win an Oscar, didn't it, for them? It's worth saying that it was the second Bond Oscar. Just, I don't know. Does any film from the 60s look this good? In the, going around these places? I mean, it's got to be up there for visuals and holding up. I do think it is. Yes, we go on about the back projection stuff, which goes on all the way to some of the, well, even GoldenEye's got quite a bit in, hasn't it? So you can't really criticise that because everyone was doing it at the time and it was all you could do. But in terms of sheer chutzpah and storytelling, aspirational quality, sights and sounds of James Bond, it's just, this is like a Bond you almost take for granted because it's just a lot of your images of what James Bond is derived from this film, and the other Connery films. So I think it's worth singling it out rather than just sort of lumping it together with the other Sean Connerys. And yeah, I think sometimes you hear people say the first three are way better than the other ones, but you are hearing a bit more the first four about. It's a bit like the Batman Forever of the Bond series, isn't it? It's getting a bit more praise perhaps than it used to. But then I think, well, come on, you only live twice. What's
brilliant in itself.
It?
Brilliant, yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. So it's hard to argue that the 60s have ever been better, isn't it? I know we love the John Glenn era, which are pretty much perfect films, but this has never been done before. Absolutely, like we say, Goldfinger was one of the biggest films of all time, and this was even bigger than that. So to have these films, this is why we're still here doing this.
Yeah,
we're celebrating a film that's 6 years old, and yes, we've got all the other anniversaries going on, but the fact that people are still meeting up, there's the 007 GB thing in Edinburgh with Martin Bezic. We've had the Bahamas, we've said, with the tracks of 007, and we'll have more events in the future. It's so great, and of course, seeing it in Ireland, which was magnificent. So, as I always end these, happy birthday, happy 60th, nearly a pensioner now, Thunderball.
Get your bus pass.
Yeah.
Varga's behind you.
Really?
He must have followed us.
I think you got the point.